You are not going to believe what I'm about to tell you. It's time to cover all things Claire Arnold with...
Guess who?
That's right. On November 11th, Kathleen Robertson will be joining the Beverly Hills 90210 show.
Sex, rock, really decent literature.
For more info, make sure you check out at Beverly Hills 90210 show on Facebook and Instagram for the latest updates.
Thank you, Kathleen, for coming on the 90210, so my mom is excited to see it.
You know what they say? Que le meilleur gagne.
Hey 90210, it's Josh Richland here, back from the dead, but not really. And if Brandon had been a better journalist, he would have known that I did not die in that accident. No memorial should have been the tip-off. Turns out, I had a terrible spinal injury. I got airlifted to Springfield, Illinois, where at the Memorial Medical Center there, they've got one of the best spinal injury rehab centers in the country. Met a girl. I'm now the editor of the State Journal Register. It's a little paper. Not bad, not great, but not bad. And I'm the editor of the state government section of the State Journal Register in Springfield. Anyway, wishing everybody a very happy anniversary to 90210. I have great memories of being there and working with all those people. And saying hi to everybody and to all of you. Bye.
Hey Beverly Hills 90210 fans! Are you ready to dive deep? Episode by episode, storyline by storyline, character by character, as we break down the making of your favorite zip code. With your host, Charles Rosin.
Did I say that?
Mary
This
Mullins.
heinous thing about the real person, and we're going, what? We're getting rid of this guy.
Pete Ferrero.
And growing up, my TV crush is Claire Arnold. So I mean, she has to come on the show at this point.
Fashion guru Perry
She was
Sempton.
like 25 or something. And what the hell? She looked so old.
Like so many special guests. And all your questions. Live on the Beverly Hills 90210 show. Oh, yeah.
All right, so here we are. Elections is super important to the world of Beverly Hills 90210, and elections in general are, but we are going to be focusing strictly on elections on Beverly Hills 90210. Starting with Erin, it's filling in for Perry, is Erin Clements. Good to see you. Tell me about your love of Beverly Hills 90210, what you're doing, and why you're here.
So I've been watching Beverly Hills 90210 since the very beginning, and I still love it. I rewatch it all the time. I've been rewatching along with your show, and I've also been lucky to interview some of the cast. I actually do work on a series at today.com called Flashback, where we ask actors from classic shows and movies to reflect on their favorite moments. And so I've done it with Jason Priestley. We had Jenny and Tori on. They were on broadcast when the reboot premiered last year. So they did a flashback. We had Brian Austin Green. So yeah, really excited to talk about it.
That is super cool. That is really, really awesome. Well, listen, guys, we're going to talk a lot about elections, and I didn't think we could do the show without somebody that was actually a part of the show. One of the episodes that we're talking about, of course, is Stand and Deliver, the election stuff. How about him? Michael Miller himself, Scotty Fults. How are you?
Hi, Scotty.
Hey, guys.
The junior class president.
That's right.
Class president of Beverly. Yes, I am. Yes.
That's right. What did you accomplish in your administration?
Yeah, really.
I managed to get Trump kicked out of the White House.
You did it, baby. All right. That's what I was hoping I'd hear.
There you go.
I think Michael Miller right now would be on Biden's staff. I think he'd be chief of staff for Biden right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, if political conversation makes you sensitive, don't tune this episode out. We're talking politics, so I mean, it might come up. We're all I know somebody here. Some of these episodes are based around, right? So politics is important to a group of us here.
Hold
But lots going on, and this episode is, super important because the most important thing that I think all of us want to get out of this episode is for people to go out and vote. You've been voting already, and if you haven't been,
vote.
Just
vote. Has everyone here voted? Karen voted.
I voted.
Chuck voted. Everyone voted. I think.
Right.
I mean, they made it, so easy this year.
Definitely.
I actually tracked my ballot yesterday.
Oh, that's very nice. Yeah, that
you just put your name and your stuff in there, and it just shows you if they received it, and it was accepted.
Before we hop into this episode, let's watch this.
So check it. We have so much new and exciting merchandise over at Beverly Hills 90210showshop.com. You can get your own Peach Pit shirt or Welcome to Beverly Hills shirt. Or, oh my God, check out that classic retro Beverly Hills 90210 shirt. Oh, and for you Claire Arnold fans, Pete, you can get yourself a Claire Arnold t-shirt. I mean, we pretty much have everyone and everything covered, from Dylan McKay to Ray Pruitt. I mean, we even have a Roy Randolph shirt. So don't be a squeef. Head over to Beverly Hills 90210showshop.com and get on it.
Well, I thought it was appropriate to wear the Richland Walsh shirt. That's what I'm wearing. I mean, what do you got, Larry?
I've got to get my wardrobe going. I only have two shirts. I got the Roy and I got the Ray Pruitt. I'm waiting for the. I like the Claire Arnold though. Sex, rock, and really decent literature. I think that was
coming
really
soon.
Good one. I'm looking forward to that.
Definitely, for sure.
I bought one. It's coming in the mail. A new one. I've got the words and wisdom of Karen Rosin, of course.
I think that's fantastic.
And I got now that Beverly Hills Beach Club one.
Oh yeah,
very
cool. Victor did.
I did get a Claire Arnold. Are you freaked because of who my father is? Mug.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
I think I have to buy an I Choose Me.
Oh
yeah, absolutely.
At least
only one. Get one for the whole mishpucha.
Yeah, that makes the most sense. All right, let's talk about this episode, Chuck. I guess the first question is, why were politics so important here in the world of Beverly Hills 90210? When we go back to season 1, episodes weren't really drawn together yet. We weren't doing a serialized show, so everything was kind of, as it happened. There were some story arcs that were obviously brought through to different things. But why was that such a big thing in that first season?
In the student politics, you mean this particular episode? Yeah. Well, I think that it was important in this first season because student politics were important to me. It was pretty much how people who knew me in high school defined me as it. I mean, who else takes their yearbook and marks who they anticipate is going to vote for them and only be wrong by 5 votes? That isn't bad. But the thing is, you asked about the motivation, and in this episode, it's really the part that has to do with the election. I really did like and saw all the. I like the lure of the power and all of that, but that's not why people ran. People ran in Beverly Hills High School for one reason and one reason only. It looked good on your resume to help you get into a better college. However, season 1, we couldn't talk about getting into college. So Brandon's motivations, I think, are a little murky. He's like, oh yeah, I can do it. I'll be popular. Well, he doesn't need to be popular. We know that about him. And the fact is that his politics would have aligned much closer with Mr. Miller. He would have done, like the excess with the food and things like that, which was a really good idea. And to show you that Beverly Hills politics wasn't just important to me, student body president of Beverly Hills High School was Dan Attias, our ace director. He's been on the show. We're going to have him on the show again, hopefully. Sure. And Dan was really the most qualified running in his year. Mm-hmm. And somebody ran against him. Lance was his name. And Lance wanted to thought all the activities one could possibly do, like for student government and the dances and everything else, throw them out and spend all the money buying a dialysis machine for one person that this man Lance knew. And Lance was a pretty good speaker. And all of a sudden it was that about, we have to do something socially good. The year is 1969, everybody. That we had to do something socially good, and it really didn't matter about the functioning of government or the social activities of the school. And so in real life, that's what high school politics was like in Beverly Hills. Unlike the Legacy Key, which I know we'll talk about someday, where opening up offices and getting tests and things like that. I don't believe there was any ballot stuffing or any cheating going on in elections in Beverly. I don't think that mattered quite so much.
Well, let's go to let's go to Scotty. You came into this world, the TV show. You auditioned, I'm sure, for the show. What was that process like at that time?
That was very strange because I'd just been over in England doing a show for ITV in England. Mm-hmm. And I don't remember, Charles, maybe you guys can help me. I think maybe you guys called me in just for a read for you guys. I'd just gotten off the airplane the day before.
Wow.
From England. I had no idea what Beverly Hills 90210 was because I'd been over in England for a year. Right? But when I got there, I mean, it was like this company, and it was, they were a great family. Everybody just supported everybody. It was terrific. And it was a fabulous time.
Do you remember auditioning for Erin?
This part would have not been auditioned for.
I don't think so.
No. I was the surrogate Erin.
Was it more than one? Was it more than one episode?
No. That's why it was just a regular. It was Diane Young, and you probably pre-read for her first, and then it was Paul, myself, and the director, Bert Brinkerhoff, a really good director, who went on to do a lot of Melrose. Mm-hmm. Just don't ever have him direct any episode having to do with baseball.
I just won't work out. And I remember it being a completely, just a fabulous experience, and just get up there and say the words and mean what you say, and look at people and talk to them.
Yeah.
Okay.
What was it like?
It was like Gary Cooper. Look at people and talk to them.
When did you start acting? When did you start acting, Scotty?
I got involved in it very young, back here in Texas, where I am now. I'm teaching theater, guys.
Oh, amazing!
If you guys can help me, please, because this whole internet thing, teaching theater, is just not a cool thing.
Right.
Yeah.
It needs to be hands on, but I started when I was very young in Texas, and I did a lot of equity theater, and finally came into. I was at the Alley Theater for a while, and they said you need to go to California because you're going to make money playing kids when you're a good deal older than what you're going to play.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what happened in 90210. And the cool thing about 90210 is I was there with guys that were my own age. Mm-hmm. I'd done an episode of Saved by the Bell where they weren't my own age, and that was, pretty trying. But the discipline and the just the camaraderie and the company feel of that show made it fun.
What was a young Jason Priestley like to work with at that time?
A lot of fun, actually. He and I had a lot of fun after too. So
that's very cool. Yeah. And you did some stuff with Shannon in this as well. Was she a peach to work with?
Absolutely kind, giving, welcome here. And I'm sorry she's sick now. God help her. She's somebody that had been through she'd been through the ringer, guys.
Mm.
She'd been doing this since she was, 4?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. You're talking about.
And it just,
So did you, at a certain point, you stopped being a child actor, though, right?
Yeah, I got a little tired of being 35 and asking people when I was going to get ice cream for breakfast. I got offered the Ashland Shakespeare Festival, unawares to me, when I was in LA. And I had the artistic director come up to me at a gathering and say, I'm not speaking to you because your agents just turned down a full season for you at Ashland. And I'm a theater trained actor, guys.
Right.
I want to work. I don't mind doing TV. I love TV.
Right.
But I want to work. An actor's deal is they want to work.
Yeah.
You know, and it doesn't matter where an actor works. I can work on a street corner if I'm working.
Yeah.
Making money, right?
Absolutely.
But, you know, I'm sorry if that sounds...
No. But, Erin, before I let Scotty go, do you have any questions that I know you sent me a bunch of things. Do you have any questions for Scott?
Well, one thing I wanted to say, I love his scene with Shannon where Michael's like the one person who shows interest in her burgeoning comedy career. And then Kelly just, snaps and says, why are you talking to Brandon's opponent? When he seems like a pretty honorable guy and he was just being, sweet and asking about her joke writing. But I was wondering, so at the beginning, Andrea says, we can't let the popular airheads run student government. And that's why she asked Brandon to run. But then Michael's anything but a popular airhead. And, his list of accomplishments goes on and on with the internship at the state capitol and the pilot program for feeding the homeless and everything. So did Andrea not back him because she thought he had no chance since he says, he has a history of losing? Or what? Like, why wouldn't Andrea support Michael?
Good question.
Well,
let's call up Amy Spees and see if she has I picked up on that too, and but the fact is that in Beverly Hills High School, the popular airheads did not run student government. In fact, every time a quote unquote popular kid who had good grades, I'm thinking of someone like Richard Hall, Karen, and other people. They didn't win the main office. It was in fact it was very hard sometimes to do that. It's because there was a nerd bond. In terms of who's intelligent, who's trying to do that, who would also work on committees. Here's a Beverly Hills thing for you. You remember when we did the Christmas episode, It's a Totally Happening Life, and everybody went to the school on the bus. Well, right. I was there as a singer 1 year, but 2 years in a row, I was there as somebody who got to hand out toys and go to the different classrooms and this, because I was part of Boys League. And I went into Boys League because I wanted to go to Albion Street. It was like the service organization of Beverly Hills High School. I would have to say, though, that with the exception of maybe one person, none of them were in my social crowd. None of them were people I knew who would do the committee work and the volunteer work and things like that. So that's kind of who made the school go, made student government go. And someone like Brandon, or in my case, in Beverly High, we were the anomaly.
Right.
A little bit.
All right, I'm going to show that clip.
That I would add to that, actually, if I can.
Yep.
Is look at the guy that has policies now and the guy that doesn't.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to show that clip that Erin just referred to and get Scotty's take on what that was like to do.
Comedy of politics.
Hi.
He's over there. Yes, I am his sister. Anything else you want to know?
Not really.
Hi, Michael. I'm sorry. This election stuff is just so taken over the school.
I'm kind of sick of politics myself. So what you doing, homework?
No. Work, hopefully. Probably just a bunch of pitiful jokes.
You do that stuff?
Well, I'm trying to get on amateur night at this club.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Kelly, hi.
Look, I need to go, okay? See ya. Keep up the work.
Bye. Brenda, how could you do that with him in public? Kelly, Michael, and I were just talking. Michael Miller is Brandon's opponent.
Kelly didn't like that. By the way, Chuck, did you see the beautiful boom shot? That you gotta love those.
Yeah, the first one was at 1935. This is the second one I hadn't seen originally. I love our fans who always say yours is the best show that ever was made, but you can't have a boom or multiple booms in every episode and even pretend to get that mantle. I don't know how we let so many.
I'm going to ask you, but I mean, we've never talked about that on this show, but we are here now. Why is that happening? Is that an editor thing, or is it just they only have the one?
It would be a script supervisor, basically.
Okay, I you've always heard me give a lot of love to our crew.
Yeah.
Not the sound crew in the first season, however.
Good.
And really, the most contentious person, I don't even know his name, so I can't be maligning him, but there were two people, the person who Diana Valentine replaced, our script supervisor, and the guy who held the boom. And as it was explained to me at the time, who didn't know production that well, that the boom is such a shitty job that only people who are unhappy become boom guys because they got to keep their hands up.
Or the son or nephew or relative of the sound guy is often.
Right. Well, that came about in season 2 on. They were season 3 because they were a union guy. They came in at season 3, right. And they did it. So we have fewer booms, but we had a lot of booms. Why? We didn't ever hire, I guess the ace boom guys. They were not available.
Maybe the ceilings were low.
That must be it. That must
Right.
be it. It wasn't the personnel; it was the ceilings.
It is interesting, though. We do see quite a lot of it. Well, anyway, Scotty, looking back on that, do you remember shooting that stuff with Shannon?
I
and
do.
What was it like?
I do. It was great. I mean, it was quick. They got the coverage quick, and it was done. I mean, it wasn't. It's not that challenging. I mean, we didn't have a big fight or anything. The thing that I think I liked the most about it, having seen it again, is that he's asking personal questions about her as opposed to questions about the election.
Yeah, I do love that aspect of it. Chuck, was that important to make Michael Miller? I mean, maybe we should be talking to Amy, but I think you have an opinion to make him very likable in that sense that, hey, this is a really nice kid. This is a nice guy, you know?
Yeah, well, you don't need to have polarity in high school and Kelly's attitude being wrong. Oh, it's the enemy. It's the person you're against. I don't remember that in any student election during my years. It was just not as polarized. Karen may have another question about it because she was also president of her high school.
It was a tiny little high school in New York. Yes. And it was because it looks great on your college resume. What can I say? Also because by becoming the vice president first, I had to lead the student assemblies. And at the time I wanted to be an actress, and I thought that would give me a lot of speaking experience and get over my shyness, which it did actually do the trick for. So it was great. But yes, no, I was going to, Erin's comment before of how come they said we don't want to run against these popular airheads and how come the guy turned out not to be. Well, the fact that he turns out not to be is a little twist. That's good for the show, the movement of the characters, a little surprise, but also, just to rationalize it in reality, she could be wrong. That's what happened. It was a guy who wasn't that this time. So that it kind of ups the drama a little bit. So we'll give Amy a pat on the back for that.
Sure. Go ahead, Chuck.
Well, the one thing that did, it's interesting. It's going to sound really kind of horrible what I'm about to say about my experience in the high school guy. But somebody who is in Hollywood, a very successful former network executive and producer, who was 2 years older than me, told me that the secret of a guy getting elected is you take out a different girl every weekend. And
Steve Sanders said.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord.
Isn't that curious why Steve Sanders said that? Well, I have no idea. Well, anyway, yes. And the people, however, Karen would know this. Some of the people, and I didn't do it very often, but I did it 3 or 4 times. At least two of them have remained lifelong friends. from high school years. I don't see them that much. One I talk to a lot on Facebook and stuff. But,
that would explain why all the women, when we go to the Beverly Hills High School decade reunions, 10, 20, 30, they all come up to me and said, your husband was my first kiss. How many people have told me that? And they all said it with a big smile, but he was 13,
Well, that was then, but this was more 16. This is when we'd go to the Troubadour, we'd go up to Blue Jay Way, we'd go to their house, and then I'd go to Jack Ravoy's house and get high. That was pretty much high school.
The Blue Jay Way is like a makeout place, right?
Yes.
That's
There's a fog above LA, and
where I grew up.
Blue Jay Way was a place, and Ringo Starr had a house right there.
Jessica has a question or a point. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Jessica.
I'm sorry to interrupt your stroll down memory lane, Chuck. I wanted to defend Amy because I thought what Amy meant, or what the writer meant, or what you, the rewriter, meant was had Brandon not run, an airhead would have run one of the popular kids and would have beaten Michael.
Right.
And Andrea was suggesting that Brandon take the mantle, that she could get him to win because he was handsome and whatever. She didn't say that, but that's what she's thinking. And she knows that he's got a brain behind that beauty and she could get him to win. That's how I took it.
I think you're right.
And then she would be part of the inner circle.
Correct.
She just like she wanted to be when we move on to the college episodes, and it happened to her twice. Like he didn't really appreciate her political skills as they were. Kelly moves into it and is there in the trip and in the feeding the ego. And so Andrea's kind of lost in the conversation at that point.
We'll get to that. Before Michael leaves, I want to show him the scene that I think, the big scene during the debate and get his take on shooting this.
No, not really. But you are. And that's just one of about 50 reasons why you're more qualified to be president than I am. And you've certainly run a more honorable campaign.
What is he doing? This is not in our script.
And that's the reason why I'm throwing my support to you. Mr. President.
Now, there's no chance Trump does this on Tuesday, right?
No, God can only hope.
There's no moment in time in which that occurs. Chuck, this idea that Brandon would throw the election to the candidate, where did that aspect of all of this come from?
We go back to the class of 1969. Dan Attias said his speech. Lance said his speech. The next person to give their speech threw their support to Lance.
Wow.
And those of us who were Attias people were like, and politicians, I was also running for president. I was like, what's going on? How can we, how are we going to do this? And it was, it was pretty, but so that's happened then. And it happened even in the class of 68. The class of 68, as you can imagine, was extremely radical. And I think they too had a more left-wing kind of politician drop out so that it would be a truer race between two guys. And the guy who got elected high school in that class, here's a 90210 trivia. That guy's girlfriend at college was Carol Potter.
Oh,
wow.
Wow.
It's true. Jeff Golden. Yes, it is true.
All right, Scotty, before you leave, obviously that's a very big scene for you. That's probably the bigger one. I mean, you have a great dialogue with Jason too.
Yeah.
But tell me about shooting that and what your memories are of that.
My memories of that were that it went quickly. I mean, I just felt like Jay and I got, we picked up on each other really quick, and I was reacting to it already. They were getting coverage on it quick, and there you go.
Yeah. Very cool.
It felt like that at least. I mean, the show was a company. I mean, they were already, they were into a groove. They were making like company theater, right? And I sort of felt like that was going on, and I wanted someone to contribute. And I'm still pissed off that they didn't bring me back for more. But yeah, you know.
Well, here's your chance, Chuck.
Well, here's how I can make it up to you, Scotty. I donated to MJ Hager, I donated to Wendy Davis, and I donated to Candace Valenzuela.
Yeehaw!
No, I just want to say to Scotty's point about the quickness. Remember, it was a 7-day shooting schedule, and most shows an hour long had 8 days. So they really had to finish everything. Yeah. I mean, it was.
And weren't you guys shooting more than one episode at a time?
Not then.
No, not then.
No. I mean, I came onto that set. I heard that it was the hottest show on TV, and I knew I had to be on my, on my shit. Yeah. But I mean, and I thought I was. I hope you guys thought I was too.
Definitely. Oh, you're terrific. It really was a pleasure to watch it. And see it, because it's, for various reasons, it's not one of my favorite episodes, but has nothing to do with this plot.
Right.
And it has nothing really to do with any problem that created. This was one, Jessica, that we had so many fights over. It was not pleasant. But what was pleasant is that in prep was April is the Cruelest Month while this show was.
That was the first one that I wrote. So
that's exactly right.
Indeed, yeah.
Hey, Scotty, I'm just curious also, after this episode aired, did you get recognized for this part and talk to people about this show?
I have been, yes. I have been.
What's that like for you?
It's funny because, well, I'm gray now. I'm completely gray. And they say, but they hear my voice.
Right.
And when they hear my voice, they go, "Were you on 90210?"
That happened to Karen too. Yeah.
Yeah. I was student council president at West Beverly High School. That's a great claim to fame, I think.
That's how it shows you how great our fans are. They watch the shows so often that they could recognize the players by their voices.
And can I tell you, I've seen myself in Norwegian.
There you go.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, Scotty, we're going to say goodbye to you. We're going to pick up this conversation talking about the college aspect of this. So thank you for joining us, man. It was great.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me. I really
and my heart's with you in Texas on Tuesday night. We need it.
Let's get him.
Hook 'em horns, right? Yeah.
All right. Chuck, I know we weren't supposed to talk about this aspect of the show, but I'm curious for Larry. You watched the full episode. What is your take on the other thing that's happening in this show, this stand-up thing? I'm just curious to know what...
You mean the performance-oriented coffee houses?
Yes. What was your take
on
that?
That was I know how tortured Chuck was on this episode, so I watched it. It's hard to divorce that, but that line just stuck out when Brenda says, performance-oriented coffee houses are becoming very popular. It just sounded like the whole plot just felt like indicating to me, like, I don't know what came before, but, it felt more like, like when there's an important half-hour episode where people go through something, and it's just, you really having all the earned moments all put together. Because I really didn't understand, that she was leaving home and she was going to all of a sudden sit everything out. And then, it's always a trap to try to not be funny. Oh, look how not funny this is. That's always a mistake as a writer. Never do that. But other than that, I thought it was pretty good. I want to just say on the election thing, I thought it was really cool because, it was so Beverly Hills again, which I really find so interesting in these early episodes where it just reeks of it. And you see Kelly Taylor pushing this whole Beverly Hills ethos on Brandon. And Brandon makes the great Midwestern church to have some substance to it. And it really gave that balance. You got the fun of the Beverly Hills and the outrageousness and the differentness of this people that people didn't understand. And then you got the normalness through Brandon making the right decision there. And I thought that was really successful. But the other plot, I just, I didn't know. It felt like a good try. Just like I said, I know Chuck was looking for something different in it, so that was always coloring it. But I did at one point write, "Is this going to be over soon?" But I did. Yeah, that was about it. But it was, the show's finding itself there because obviously the Kelly Taylor character we see there doesn't really feel like the Kelly Taylor character we know, and some of the other characters, again, they're fighting for who they are in that first season. And I was lucky, and Jessica at that point probably was too, because we inherited characters that already made, they had already been refined a little bit and found their niche.
I do feel that is a big issue with this episode as well. I mean, like Donna does something where she gives Brandon a kiss on the cheek.
I noticed that too.
Which was a little bit more forward than what Donna Martin becomes, and
drawn to power. She's drawn to power or something.
Suddenly, yeah.
Okay.
Donna also makes kind of a catty comment.
Should I just curse now so we can stop this conversation? Since Pete lied to me and said, "Don't worry, Chuck, we'll do an episode on politics, and I won't bring up the poetry club." It was supposed to be slam poetry. That's what we were supposed to do. And Fox didn't believe that there were any coffee houses. Fox didn't believe that this was something so trendy, almost as trendy as when Larry would put in the computers in Los Angeles. Since there are only two of them, and we couldn't do that, so we had to be the Comedy Store of coffee houses.
It's the most unfunniest comedy store in America because Jack isn't very funny. Scotty
would have been much better.
Yeah, exactly.
My big complaint about the episode was that Brenda says to her parents, to her friends, "I'm going to go upstairs and change my jacket." And then when they show up at the comedy club, she's wearing the same jacket. And so I just like, where is the continuity person for that?
Yeah.
But, sorry, that's.
No, listen, I think we all could probably go on about this. Let's shift.
No.
I think it's important to note that you had something else that was interesting.
Most of the episodes that you see, fans, that are pieces of shit is because people made it that. It wasn't our intention to come out and try that. It's that what we tried to do was vetoed. And then what are we supposed to do?
I think that's all I wanted to get out of that, because I think this episode lingers with people who watch the show and we can't ignore it. In fact, it emerges at one point where she's staying at the house and everybody comes there for a party. You know what I mean? And there's a big blowout with Brandon and Brenda over, whether he has changed or whatnot. So it's hard to sort of ignore it.
Well, election night parties were a big thing in Beverly Hills. Where was going to be the party before the election and where was going to be the party after the election?
Yeah.
In the third act is the answer.
I'm talking in IRL, in real life.
But okay, there's one other thing in this. Kelly hits on Brandon a bit, right? And when she's, as in the living room when they watch the ad. Is this kind of where you get these ideas to maybe pair them at spring dance and all that stuff? Does any of that help you in that situation or no?
No, it was just, I think that Larry and Jessica said it. We were just trying to form the characters.
Yeah.
And she was sexual. She was cute. And she had a crush on Brandon, so it comes out here. It comes out in spring dance. It comes out in the end of season 4. It just was always there. And I'm always gratified when to some people that their favorite couple is Brandon and Kelly.
Me too. Yeah.
Me too.
Erin, do you have any more questions about this episode, and then we'll move on to college?
I think my only other question, in the campaign video, there's footage of Brandon standing behind Scott in the computer lab, which I think is from episode 2 and is also in the opening credits. So how would David Silver have that footage?
It's a great.
David Silver actually shot all the episodes for us.
That's a revelation. Yeah.
You have to get Brian on the show and ask him how he did it. Every episode.
I also loved, by the way, the some of the stuff with Kelly and David. That's really cute, and with David and the camera and having to do the date and all that stuff, it played nicely. I think the two of them always have good chemistry together. I think we got this episode. Let's move this to college. I think we're all more familiar. But for Karen, you looked back on these episodes. Do you feel that this first episode reflected the politics that you know, and being married to somebody who's probably a little bit of a political junkie? What's your thoughts on it?
He is a political junkie. This is my life now. We have we have the news on quite a bit. But yes, this always was of interest to him. And if you start to ask him little factoids about like who was the vice president or who ran for vice president on the losing ticket of a particular year, he can tell you that, and probably like who the attorney general was. So the fact that he would remember everything from his high school years does not faze me at all about this particular exciting part of of school for him. This was a lot of fun, and the campaign, and he did introduce himself and meet all the people and take people out on dates and whatnot. So yeah, I think it is reflective of like a real life kind of a thing in that way. Yeah.
Cool. Good stuff. All right, let's move into talking about Josh Richland. We've had him on here before, and you can find that in the archives somewhere. We did an interview with Joshua Beckett, and he kind of talked a little bit about making this episode a clean slate. And we also visited it with Bethany Rooney a while back, so you can dig into it there. But we never did see the follow-up episode, the Life After Death, which I think is a really fantastic episode. But I guess for Chuck and Larry, now you guys are both here at this time together. What's the idea? Like, let's bring Brandon back into politics.
You mean in season
5? I'm sorry. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In season 5. Well, he was involved in season 4 with the task force.
Right.
So he was given a position of a student insider, and I believe, Erin, you may know this because you probably know these things better than all of us. Didn't Josh Richland Josh Richland was in season 4.
Yeah, he starts in Little Fish.
So he's often always, he knew who Brandon Walsh was, and he makes a reference in Little Fish about you did the walkout from the high school. And Brandon may not have had a student body office, but he did lead a walkout. We had walkouts at Beverly Hills High School, and I didn't lead any of them. In fact, one of them I tried to stop because I was a student body officer. I was supposed to do that.
Right.
But at the same time, so it was natural, and also to be Brandon, and because we've already infused him with a little bit of Rosin political energy, that it just made sense to have him do that and be closer. My feeling was that if he was student body president, he'd be closer to what makes up a college, the issues that would come up, the things that could come up. And indeed, that's how we did do season 5, and why Mr. Spelling was so quick to say when I wasn't going to come back, no more student politics, because we used it kind of as a basis a lot in our season 5, because that's what Brandon was doing.
It was good for us to put our leading man in the room where it happened. So we're always looking to find an arena to put your characters in, and it was an effective one for Brandon.
Again, it's amazing to me, but we were really the only ones to do a successful series in college.
Yeah,
I can't think of another show.
Though I think that
Felicity. I was saying Felicity.
Oh, I never saw Felicity. Was that a big show? I don't know.
It was, and it was at NYU, and there was a lot of kissing.
Oh, well.
That was after.
After us,
that was
critically
after.
acclaimed, Larry. Critically acclaimed.
Yeah, it was a good show.
Worth a
It was a
watch.
good show to write for.
J.J. Abrams.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
Larry's just finding out about the show now. That's
never heard.
Harry Russell. I mean, that was a big draw.
Jessica, what's your take on the college election?
It was funny to me to look back on these episodes because I remembered, my memory is spotty about all of it, but I remembered that politics was Chuck's interest. And I thought, oh, how nice to be looking back, but I didn't write any of this. And then I saw, yes, I actually wrote one of these episodes. I wrote with Steve Wasserman, Life After Death.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I look back at these shows and I'm always touched by, in the big picture, how good they are, how they stand up, they're entertaining. And I heard lines in that episode that I thought I don't remember writing them, but boy, are they coming right out of my head. That's how that I would have written that. And so it was gratifying. I liked it.
Larry, go ahead. I'm sorry, Jessica.
I was just going to say one more thing. I think that it was interesting to see Brandon speaking at Josh Richland's funeral. And then to hear Valerie talking about how one of her parents had said that you eat an egg after a funeral. And I thought, Valerie knew Jewish people? It was like, that was odd to me, but I found it touching. Go on. Sorry, Larry.
Yeah. First of all, Josh's opening, where he's 30 years later, Josh Richland later, he says there was no memorial, but there was a memorial.
There was.
Josh.
Or Josh doesn't know. Yeah.
He didn't watch that episode, obviously, because it starts that.
He was already dead.
And no, I
he
thought
had no lines. He was an actor. Like, there's no lines in the script. I'm not watching this.
Right. Exactly.
The way it was set up, which was Chuck's hope, is that, of course, Brandon isn't running for president, that would be kind of too ambitious and too ego thing. But he's going to be the second guy, and we're going to get some mileage out of this. And it was a long game because, like I said, we started Josh in season 4 as I think he was the editor of The Condor. So he has a relationship with Brandon. And then I thought that thing really played well because, of course, coming off the task force, he's the chancellor's lackey. And in Chuck's insistence, we created a college with all these progressive groups, all these divisive. We've got Latinos United, you got the Black Coalition, you got all these, the Pan-Asian thing. I thought that was fascinating for that time that we were showing all these, lobby minority groups really vying for power.
In real life, they had all those at
Cal Berkeley.
Cal Berkeley for sure, but for our college in Eagle Rock,
Occidental.
Occidental.
Yeah.
Because all of those groups protested us filming our show on the campus. That's how I knew they were there.
That's right. But that was good because there was all these. In fact, there were no real Nazi groups, unfortunately, running. I thought we created a good bunch of characters with interesting agendas, and of course, the whole episode really coming down to Deshaun Hardell having to back Brandon really is good. And some of the play that happens, they're gonna basically extort Brandon or basically use the leverage of him perhaps cheating on the exams and to drop out of the race, and then Deshaun creating that moment for Deshaun. That really became really good political drama because it was really about the characters.
That I was struck by how none of the issues have changed. We're still, the characters then talked about issues that we're still talking about. And the fact that we were talking about race and that we had the various broad strokes of political intrigue that we're seeing today. I thought that was getting the fact that we got stuff right.
Mm-hmm. Chuck, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just responding to what Larry said relative to the Deshaun Hardell's quandary, because, if you remember earlier in the episode, Josh Beckett goes to him and says, "You're friends with Deshaun, get him to back us." And he says, "Look, I can't do that to him because there's a strong Black coalition and I don't want to put him in that position." And so for him so he set it up, and then he comes out on his own volition because I guess Donna spoke to him or however they ultimately did it. But again, it's like you just kind of set something up and then the expectation is the opposite. It comes out anyway.
Chucky actually has a scene with Brandon where he says, "I'm not going to take a position.
He does
show you how much I believe in you."
Yeah.
Right.
Chris is incredible, by the way. Fans, you're all looking for guest stars to get on the show. We've tried to reach out to Chris a couple times. We're gonna hit that a little harder after seeing these episodes. I'm just like, man, we gotta get Deshaun on here. So reach out to him, Instagram him up, and try to get him to come on.
Erin, tell him he's going to come on the Today Show, and then he'll respond to you, and then
swerve. You
can really be a big help with us here.
Erin to start doing the swerves with some of these. Yeah, here it is. This is the Today Show right now. Yeah. Erin, any questions about either one of those episodes?
Not really a question. It struck me how good Brandon's impromptu speech was at that Meet the Candidates event after seeing him in season 1, choke when he has to debate Michael, and he can't even give an answer to the question about, how are you going to book rock bands? So he really came a long way after that. And of course, during his presidency, he deals with all these really complex ethical dilemmas, such as, Stelanesia and Roland Turner. So Brandon really came a long way after that season 1 campaign.
And of course, there's the story, that we see play out in the Rolling Stones episode where, Brandon isn't even supposed to be is being challenged by Alex Diaz, right? We're going to eventually have him here.
FJ Rio.
Yeah, FJ Rio. He'll be here at some point. He's just waiting for this the real life political circus to sort of go away. And then he said he'll be happy to come on and join us. So there was that in the Rolling Stones episode. Chuck, I don't know if we ever talked about that in the Rolling Stones episode where that idea of him being contested came from. Because I know we were talking.
That was right from that was this is again one of our long arcs because we knew that he kept going to call the order, and because he kept doing that, we thought, hey, well, if he did that, then that would be what a president would be doing. It's presidential. So the first time we did it, I knew eventually he would be able to become president whenever he's challenged because he's doing it. So we had set up something, didn't know quite when we would pay it off. One thing I do, Erin, interestingly enough, about rock bands at Beverly Hills High School, we had the Doors, Linda Ronstadt, and Three Dog Night.
What?
Rock bands mattered. What you put out on Jazz Night. The only year they didn't do Jazz Night is when I was vice president of the school. We didn't do it. Every other year I was there, and then the moment I left, they started it up again.
So they called it Jazz Night, but you had rock and roll.
Well, it used to be jazz, back in the day. But yeah, by the time we got there was no jazz, it was all rock, And the Doors was the cool one.
I'm curious what you guys think of FJ Rio, Alex Diaz's performances in these episodes. I think he's really pretty awesome in these things. What do you guys think? It's really good.
He reminds me of a Politico.
Yeah,
that was really good.
That's on their mind. That's how I'm doing it. I'm going to be snotty when I have to because I don't like you, and otherwise I'll be charming to people. Yeah.
The Chancellor's lackey.
Yeah, I loved that. We got some good.
Yeah, that was great to hang in him with that. And that was good.
And we see all this kind of come to a head in the Real McCoy, which is another episode that we didn't really need to watch all of because we've covered that before. When Brandon thinks he's going to become president again. Very easily, it seems like. They even ran out of cake for him and all that, and then he, I guess Dean Whitmore screwed it all up.
The increase in tuition. Yeah, increase in tuition.
The interesting thing is this was the only time that he ran because he wanted to. All the other time he was the reluctant candidate. Yeah. Finally, when he wants to do it, he doesn't get rewarded.
That's great.
Ain't life a bitch.
It was good.
Yeah, I love these storylines, and I love the elections in general. I think it's one of the things that actually made college come to life in the series. Hey,
Jesse also the Mark Damon Espinosa who was in here. We did talk about some of the stuff that he did with Brandon there because I think it is in the Stones episode where we have him.
He becomes the lawyer.
He becomes the lawyer and decides because Brandon was opening the meetings up that there was a continuum of leadership.
I want to show that.
I want to say that I think all art is political, and writing for television is political, and we bring our own biases to what we write because we have intention, and we want to project what's important to us, what our values are, and while we did it overtly in these episodes about politics, we also did it more
indirectly.
Indirectly, I was going to say insidiously, but yeah, indirectly, because we wrote our own what interested us. We ran into trouble once in a while when we wanted to promote a charity like Heal the Bay. That Heal the Bay, I think, is the only ones that we were permitted to actually use a real name. The standards and practices wouldn't let us support a particular charity.
You know, there was
Build the Bay. We actually did a fundraiser for them in that first time when we were doing it at the Beverly Hills Beach Club.
At the Beach Club, yeah,
with Dorothy Green. Yeah, it was. So I think maybe that had something to do with it.
One thing I saw, and I can't remember which batch of episodes, but I was thinking of you, Jess, because it was about, and I don't know if you remember this, Chuck, but we all bought stock in Advanced Tissue. Do you remember this?
No.
Yes, it was. Steve was behind it. It was a company that grew human tissue on mice, and in the episode, Nat has this whole thing. He's watching the stock ticker, and they go, "What did you buy?" He says, "It's great. It's this company that makes human tissue. They grow it on mice." And it was Steve's thing. It was called Advanced Tissue. Yeah.
This was not 1 through 5. I don't think.
Yeah, it was. It was.
No, it was. No, it was one of the ones we've watched recently.
Yeah, definitely. I remember it.
Really?
Oh my God! It was Advanced Tissue.
Okay.
I was thinking of Steve, but my son made money on it anyway.
I think another note too about Nat. You just brought him up. Was it in the first when Brandon goes in? Oh, I think it's during the college years he goes and has that really nice kind of conversation with Nat about what is he going to do and all that kind of stuff. And I always think, we talk a lot about relationships on this show and you're thinking about, Kelly and Brandon, but the relationship that Nat and Brandon had is really beautiful. I think that's a great, mentorship role and relationship. And then you guys always wrote that really, really nicely and gave Joey Tata a lot of really nice stuff to do. So props to you guys for that. Erin, any other things that you want to bring up about any of these things?
I also just thought, watching that letter that Josh's sister reads at the end, the death episodes are just always so poignant, from Scott to Jack McKay to Tony to this one. It just was a really kind of touching way to end it, I thought.
Yeah, you always write off these characters in a very nice
But the way that was done too, he gets the letter, but then the letter gets read to Kelly Taylor. It kind of splits it. He gets the letter from at the house from the sister, but then it really is much more meaningful with Kelly. I thought that worked just dynamite. Well done, Jess and Steve.
I mean, the last thing I want to bring up too is, Chuck, you mentioned this before about Andrea sort of being, wanting to be more involved in this conversation with Brandon and feeling, because she was a mom. It was interesting to watch these two episodes, the season 1 episode, and then watch her here as a mom and whatnot. Do you have anything else you want to add about seeing the differences?
Well, isn't it so easy to take a bright young woman for granted? I think that's what Brandon's sin was both times, but particularly in the college one.
Yeah.
But the college one was more interesting because at this point she tended to put herself that way, and on the sidelines, and then feel badly about it, and then have value and get back to where she belonged and things she liked to do. I don't know if you guys feel that.
I do.
That trajectory with her, but I think that's where that probably where he does come from, is just being taken for granted.
For sure. Jessica, what do you think on that topic about seeing you're someone who loved, and I'm sure it's about Karen too. You guys loved writing for Andrea, and you saw that trajectory. What's your thoughts on that?
I thought it was I had trouble in season 1 with the thought that Andrea had chickened out. I wasn't sure that fit her character. So then to see what happened in the later years, to see her still having trouble finding her place at the table made me very, I found that interesting and kind of almost disappointing in terms of her character. I was glad that she gets to go to Yale or at the end, but she did it because she was able to, because Jesse asked the school to give it to her. And I don't think that the missed opportunities for Andrea's self-empowerment, I don't know whether we would get away with that today or whether we would choose to do it today.
Well, a couple of things I think, and Karen, I wanted you to think about this too, is that, okay, so I'm hearing what Jessica's saying and going, well, wait a second. But Andrea was comfortable in the Blaze. Andrea was comfortable with her byline and dealing with being the person standing up in front of the adults at the Board of Education speaking. With her own peer group, she was insecure from the first moments. And so if you're insecure, whether you're insecure politically or insecure socially, they do run together in my way of looking at it.
I mean, we can talk about this more, but I'm just saying that we made choices for her later as well when she got pregnant that, again, I'm not sure we would have made.
Oh, well, yeah.
Today.
Well, I also,
I agree with that. I don't know that.
Go ahead.
I don't know that we would have made the choice to, have her leave the show. Truthfully, it was our choice.
True. And I don't think looking back, we would have made the choice for her to consider having an affair. This was too long thought. There are lots and lots of things I look back and say I love this, and there are some things I look back and say I don't know if I love that. But the balance of the scales is definitely, I love it.
Yeah.
Larry, well, I do believe she would definitely have lost her virginity in college. I think there's in those years, kind of I'm now in high school, I have to be this way. Now I'm in college, I can experiment. So
yeah,
I did feel that would happen to her. But remember, even with the Jessie thing, she got to pay for it because she made her own money on Jeopardy. So she did, she did the free ride. But I don't think it was just he asked. I think he used his leverage and said, if you want me to come.
That's what I meant.
Yeah.
Jessica, I'm curious though. I want to ask you, you back then when you were writing the show, Andrea was a very important character to you. You've said that before. Why do you think back then that you did not say there should not be an affair here, or we should not, why do you think that or was that just not how you approached it?
I have no idea. I mean, I look back there and say, there are a lot of choices that I made as a writer in the past and as a human being in the past that I might not have made today.
Well, remember, she got pregnant. She had to be with child, and she had to have the baby. So everything,
she was a short woman, and it would have been very difficult to hide her pregnancy.
Yeah.
So, that we had to make this choice. And I think, I don't know, I just think that we made choices for a lot of characters. The audience would love it if we would always make the characters that they love do only good things.
Right.
So we don't do that. And we always we want our characters to be flawed. And we want them to make choices that aren't always good for them. And they learn from the choices they make. I'm just saying, in Andrea's case, we made choices that I'm not sure today would fly. They flew then.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
I just want to add to that. Well, I'm just going to quote. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
I just want to quote my son, who was just interviewed for this Forbes 30 Under 30. And he said he doesn't like the competitive thing that people espouse a lot, win or lose, the competitive world of investment funding, private equity. He likes win or learn. So you can win, or if you don't get that deal or do that thing, you can learn from it. And that's exactly what you're saying is win or learn. So it definitely has a place in writing an episode, especially when you have beloved characters, making them do something. But I just want to say that Aaron Spelling, as much as he loved Gabrielle Carteris, I think he personally was very fond of her. I don't think Andrea was his idea of the most important elements of this show. Just all respect to Andrea and Gabby and everything else. He was interested in the beauty of the actors that we cast and the, sexuality, and put Tori in a bikini and this kind of thing. And it was not Andrea's role. It's not that he didn't feel it had a place, but again, I just don't think it was the most important thing. So he probably thought when he gave her permission to have the baby, she'll be written off after that. He probably had that thought in the back of her mind, but he gave her permission to do that and go through the year. So then you have to take what you're given and,
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. That maybe
That's a very valid point. Yeah.
But it was a long time ago, guys. It was 30 years ago. You know, it was before Me Too. It was before a lot of stuff. So, yes, you are right. Though,
A very good conversation, though, and it's interesting
One
points.
thing I want to just say is that, you know, Andrea was the gifted student who doesn't fulfill the promise, and that's what it became. If that's what it became, as simple as that. And in a way, it's a cautionary tale. Don't have a child so soon. I mean, you know, it just became the circumstances demanded, as Chuck said. And as you said, we couldn't really hide the thing, so we just did. And the affair, we were trying to give her something, you know, besides just a baby and changing diapers and having fights with Jesse or giving him the affair. But yeah, I saw this meme. It was a girl just dressed in her normal clothes, and they asked, "What are you going for Halloween?" She says, "I'm going as a gifted child. I could have been this, I could have been that, I could have been this, I could have been a lot of things, but this is what I am."
Yeah,
and I thought that was kind of the Andrea story in a lot of ways. And you know, it's just, but again, the story's not closed. She could be a big success, you know, at Yale or whatever. We don't know, and we still we left that
president
open.
of the Screen Actors Guild.
That's right. You know, that would never happen. But
didn't she come back and say she was divorced or not?
She plays back and says she's divorced, but she's going through Yale. I mean, you know, she's on her path, and maybe you know, her kids are older. And a lot of people have good careers after 30. So I mean, you know,
yes, it's very possible.
There's hope.
Before we leave here, I want to show Karen sent us this image of something that they have at their house. I know if you're driving and you're listening, you're not going to know what it is, but it's one of the posters from the Brandon Walsh election campaign in season 1, the one where they draw the little mustache on it. This is not that one, but that's the poster I'm referring to. Karen,
that's in Lindsay Rosen's bathroom for her daughter Helen, who I'm holding right there.
That's cool. Karen, did you know that we should hold on to this this poster? Who said hold on to it?
Lindsay Rosin, who was on the set a lot from age 5 to 10. That was her time then. So when she saw it, you know, we had it in our house somewhere. It was in the office, and then there was a bunch of them, you know, and she wouldn't part with it. She said, "I need that. I have to have that."
That one was in the garage. That one was in the storage unit when we
it probably was in the storage by that point. Yeah, we have a number of those actually.
Very cool. That poster?
No.
I have to.
Different, either a prop from it, like the cover of Jenny when she's on the cover of Kelly's on the cover of the magazine. We have the magazine, you know, things like that, you know, where they made it for like a prop for the show or some of the magazine covers and stuff like that. Yeah,
I still have my diploma from West Beverly High School.
Yeah, we have it someplace. Yes, yeah. Exactly.
Before we leave, oh yeah, Larry, I have one of those somewhere. Before we leave, I want to say that the Real McCoy episode, the part where Dylan talks about seeing his death and that he's not going to have a long life, and all of that was just so sad to see. It really affected me.
Same here.
Yeah.
That's tough. It was
Avery Rosen and Jackson Mullen are in that playing his Children in the West.
Oh yeah, little Avery is like
Avery. Yeah, Jackson's probably about 6, 7 or something like that.
Yeah, Avery was like 4. I think.
Erin, on Jessica's note though, there on that comment about seeing Luke, was that tough for you as a super fan of the show?
Yeah, that stood out to me too when I was watching it.
Yeah. Oh, that's very cool.
There's Avery in his little outfit from the show.
Yeah. That's Chuck just showed us a picture in case you're driving somewhere. I'm like, what happened? Yeah.
That was from that day.
Yeah. All right, guys, I think we rocked this. Erin, thank you so much for popping in with us.
Sure.
I think it was really fun. I hope you had a good time chatting about some of these episodes.
Yeah, thank you for hanging out with us.
Yeah.
Thank you. So how do we access today.com and see this? When will it be? When will you load it up?
Jessica's
Good question, Jess.
I did an article on the Super Show. We can send you that.
Yeah, that was
you did, and that was really nice. We appreciate
Yeah, that's
that.
great.
That was a lot of fun.
But Jessica and Larry and I were on Us Weekly this week, right? I mean, the Jenny that was, Jenny had some fun this week talking about an episode.
She was sharp. I mean, that was a great comeback on that.
It was really funny, and really a complete surprise.
Yeah.
All right. So now the next time you'll see us live is on November 11th, when we will have Kathleen Robertson here on the show, which obviously I'm super excited for, and the rest of the group is as well. Molly Campbell's going to join us there because Kathleen really wants to talk about some of Claire's fashion and whatnot. So that should be really, really a lot of fun. And we got some really cool things coming up in November. So just stay tuned here, and we'll keep you updated. All right, guys, I think this was great. I will see you next time.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
And vote. Yes.
Vote.